I know. I was just talking to myself because I thought that the background hadn't, the external screen wasn't working. But no, it turns out that I forgot what's actually on this hold screen versus what's on the actual screen. So I take like a week off streaming and I forget how I've actually configured my scenes in OBS. So it's a good start to the day then. Huh? And how are you, Amy? You doing good? Well, let's start. Oh, you'll just have to work on that, Adrian. Get that lip syncing skills up and running. Yeah. Anyway, let's start opening up to. Oh, you're back in WordPress land, are you, Amy? Or still in WordPress land? I actually saw one of our colleagues here at Microsoft. He so with Azure Functions, there's a way that you can run a process that is not kind of they normally supported by Azure Functions. So like Azure Functions supporting .NET and JavaScript and Java and Python and things like that. But if you wanted to say PHP, we don't have function support for PHP. So then there's this way that you can actually run another service somewhere, and Azure Functions will then just pass the request across to that as like a kind of a back-end endpoint, and it takes care of a bunch of the scalability around it. And he actually deployed WordPress inside of a serverless model of Azure Functions. Not that that's probably a good idea, but it was a doable idea. So if you ever wanted serverless WordPress to then run as a headless CMS to maybe like a statically rendered Gatsby or something like that, then you could do it. You probably don't want to, but you could do it. And yeah, no, we probably don't do the right thing all the time. That's what technology is for, though. It's doing the wrong thing as much as you can. Yeah. But yeah, like when I saw that post that Anthony put out, or the tweet that he put out, I'm like, I don't know why you'd want to do it, but you can do it. It's like there's a project for compiling PHP to .NET. Again, you can do it, but I still don't quite know why you would do it. There's VS Code. Now, I actually did some work on this during the week because I wanted to play around with it. And polished up a few things in the code base, shuffled a few files around, and wrote a little bit of CSS. So, actually, let's get our Twitch chat going in here. No, which one is it be? And then is it that? Yeah, there we go. And TC. Where are we at? TC. TC Connect. There we go. We'll run our Twitch chat from our terminal again, just because we can. And we'll go to run npm start. There we go. Pop that as a new window. Oh, did the server immediately die? That's a good start. Let's see. No, it's definitely saying it can't reach localhost. Well, that's problematic. Let's go to the external endpoint then. Hey Jack. I'm glad you could join us. I'm looking forward to your office hours next week. We were just on a call about Ignite, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. It's going to be an online event and all that sort of stuff. And Jack may or may not have been answering every single question for the people presenting before they could actually get to answer them, which means that now he's being dobbed in to actually run a session for all like internal Microsoft folks that are presenting at Ignite. So the problem with success is that people then expect you to be able to deliver on it. Oops. That's no. That's because it's not running on localhost. Why are you not running on localhost today? If I keep hitting the endpoint, it'll just start working, right? So true, Jack. Spoken like a true advocate. Yeah, I think I don't know what's going wrong with the localhost. I wonder. So Edge has changed. At least I don't know if it's not in any builds other than Canary, but at the very least, the Canary builds have a new feature that when you Alt Tab, all the tabs come up as individual Alt Tab items. I think Chrome's had that as well for a while, and it is the most annoying thing. Like I'm used to being able to. I'm in the browser and I can Alt Tab across. And then that is my other window. But no, now I keep alt tabbing and it's just another tab in Edge. I'm like, no, I don't need to be still in my browser. I want to get back to here. So now I'm having to use like the actual shortcut keys of like Windows 3 to get to the browser or Windows 4 to get to the editor that I've got configured. That's a thing. Okay, so let's start adding some time zones. Ooh. Did I break something the other day when I was working on it? Looks like it did. Awesome. Can I read format property? Well, here we go. Wait, what's this about quackers? Let's bring the chat up here so I can actually read it. Has no quackers, so you're ahead on that metric. Okay, you two banter between yourselves. Oh, so you actually prefer the Alt tab to go between the browser tabs, Adrian? I'm just so not used to it being like that. Every time I Alt tab, I expect to go to another application, not to another window of that application. I'm used to single document interfaces, not multi-document interfaces. Like, I always struggled with that in Excel because Excel was always like you didn't have like each worksheet that you opened in Excel, or sorry, each workbook you opened in Excel wasn't treated as a separate one, and it would always trip me up there. But now I'm showing my non-dev side of things and being like, oh, so back when like Excel was my primary editor of choice. Yeah, let's just move on from there and try and work out why do we have a bug. So there's a bug in timezone displays.js. And there is a format. I'm just going to drop the font size. I was presenting at a user group last night, so I increased the font size a little bit, which was fine, except for the fact that my streaming setup was really letting me down. The performance of my second machine was woeful, to say the least. And I think I might have figured out part of the reason why, but it's still not going to be perfect. Okay, so line 46. What's line 46? So this is the stuff I was refactoring, wasn't it? Now doesn't have a format on it. So, okay, so make time. Let's figure out where do we call make time. Make time. There it is. Okay, now is a moment TZ. Okay. So can I read property format of undefined? Okay, let's stick a breakpoint and figure out what make time is. And basically what I did with my refactoring the other day was like I lifted out a whole bunch of the like the functionality into just smaller smaller functions, not classes, just because I was getting so lost inside of this one enormous display time function that we had. Okay, so let's have a look. So moment gets passed, moment is passed in, zone group is passed in, and now is not being passed in. So why did moment UTC zone group? Because zone group it should be zone group 0, index 0. Okay, that's an easy fix. Because zone group, which is pass back time. So zone group O. So that's the first time zone. So we want the now for the first time zone. We'll read like that. We'll have our breakpoint hit, and now has now as a value. Excellent. There we go. And here's also the other like marvelous thing I did is I put like a big background color on that. Doesn't it look amazing? Let's chuck in a couple of time zones. Ooh. Realize that we have more bugs to fix, that if you remove the picker it doesn't swap that back. Where else are we going to put? What's in +7? Indian Christmas. Saigon. Oh, nope, there's just a generalized bug up at the top. Awesome. I should probably have a look to see if there's a error in the console there. Oh, cannot read property name of undefined. Excellent. I've got like errors getting thrown left, right, and center. This is going well. That would be because zone group is actually the group and not the index of that. So that is going to be on line 81 of time zone display. 81. Because that's no longer in the array. If I had have done this with TypeScript, that would have been easier. Okay. Continue on there. Okay. Let's see. We still got errors. No, looks like that's gone. And then we'll add our Perth back in. Okay, so there's just generally a bug up there that we're going to have to deal with. Awesome. Can I remove parent element? There we go. There's another bug. 46. That is in the time zone picker. Whoops. No, that's in index. Index.js. And we'll go to 46. It is off to a good start. Can't remove... Wait, what was the error message? Cannot read property parent element of undefined, which means that the time zone picker doesn't exist. That's right. So yeah, okay. So that remove functionality inside of here is breaking. Ooh. Where does that happen? Remove picker. So it's fine. So the add event listener on the time zone add button, when you click display picker. Okay. So then, okay, this code is a mess. Who wrote this code? Oh, hacks. That's all it is. It's all hacks. Okay, so what's the actual logic that we're going through here? I'm going to have to debug this because I can't remember how it even works. Okay, so we click display time zone picker. Then we've got this event. So the zone selected event is the one that we care about. Then we're going to hit that. We're then going to choose a random time zone somewhere. One of those areas. Okay, so we're going to update our database. We're going to refresh across there. Cool. So we're then we're going to remove the That's the problem. We're removing the time zone picker, but we don't then... Well, no, actually, we need to probably call this... Yeah, we need to call this function. Yeah, that's the... Yes, we need to call the remove time zone picker function instead. So instead of doing that, we will go remove picker, which should, in theory, work a whole bunch better. Oh, I need to get some stuff that will... I need to adjust the size of the font relative to the number of items that are being displayed, I think. I wonder if there's a way in CSS that I can count the number of items. We'll work that out shortly. Answer is there probably isn't. Let's pick something else. US, where's US Pacific? The only time zone that matters. US Pacific. I should actually know, like, what are they there? It's my how many hours back from GMT? Ah, there it is. Yeah, it is -7. Okay. Yeah, that's okay, cool. So we fixed the bug at the top of the page. And we have this annoying, like I need to make the font sizes be reactive to the size of, like, to the count of elements that we've got there, which is probably possible to do by adding, oh no, because it's if I go into full screen, it's not a problem. Yeah, so it's kind of more responsive to the number of items that are displayed on the screen, which will get fun. But also, here's another interesting thing. So last week, Amy got me to use the Blink web component that Phil had been building on another stream, which is this thing here. And if we look at the height of it, it's very large. If we look at the span next to it, the span is, well, we can go onto computed, and the span is auto, which is not helpful. But it's what, 92 by 106. So it's you were the one that got me to use the web component last week, Amy. Don't try and hide from the fact that you didn't want to watch me write my own Blink component. But the problem is that this thing is much larger. And I noticed this during the week when I was trying to build out some better styling for it. The reason for that is that inside of the Blink component, they generate a p tag, which is where your content goes. So it actually goes into this span here, the span slot, and that's the text, which should be like you click reveal, and yeah, so that's what I've been passed in, which is only it's the height of a 5 rem font. But because it's in a p tag intrinsically has margin applied to it. It's got, like, just from the user agent, it's inheriting a 1em margin top and bottom. But it is a CSS animation anyway, Amy. It's not actually running JavaScript. It's just a CSS animation. Here it is. See, it's that, and then the animation itself is, I'm going to assume somewhere. Or I can just find it. This is the code that makes the Blink component. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll use this web component. But the problem is, because it's a p tag, it intrinsically gets this 1em padding margin top and bottom. And I cannot for the life of me figure out how you can remove that. Because it's coming from the user agent style sheet and not coming from any style sheet that they're controlling, it doesn't seem like you could actually override that. If anyone can figure out how to override that, that'd be fantastic. But ultimately, yeah, I would have to ditch this component, because it causes everything to get massive as a result because I can't do anything about that one M padding. So that's something I guess to be aware of if you're using web components is that if they've got elements in there that are getting user agent controlled styles and the web component itself doesn't reset those styles, you may have a really difficult time to like attempting to influence those styles and override them. Yeah, so that sucks basically. So I will be dealing with that in a future point. But how cool is this? We go, woo, woo. I did put an animation in there. So we navigate across. Look, the background fades in and out. The drop shadow fades in and out. There's CSS. The GitHub repo for the web component is github.com, vanilla web components. So this is funny. I just haven't got round to trying to send a pull request to remove that. Mostly because I was just trying to work out whether or not you can influence it, because like, if it doesn't seem that I can actually do any influencing of that using style sheets. So I was trying to solve this the other day. So if we come back to elements, we're going to select what is it? Control Shift C. Yeah, that's it. So if we want to create a new element style, root P, like that's what. Oh, where did it go? So you need to target this element, which, yeah, like I said, I was trying to figure out if at all it was possible to do without doing it from, because you've got to then do it from outside of the web component. So that is wc blink : root P. I'm not going to be able to do that here because it's just going to keep losing it from the context of the selector. Let's just have another crack in the CSS file. So main.css. We'll come down and wc blink root P. And then we'll do color of #f0a. So let's just try and override the default color of that. That's the way. Because I was looking in like web components override default styles. There was an article I was reading. It probably was the CSS Tricks article, to be honest, because it's always on. Oh, you want to send a pull request to my project to add a custom blink style, and then I can copy and paste code out of their stuff just as fine. Okay, yeah, moving inline styles in, link to external style sheets, custom properties, part and theme. Yeah. Well, I will park this for now because you don't need to sit here and watch me try and read other people's blog posts. But yeah, simply put, it seems like it's actually really difficult if you want to override custom like default browser styles inside of a web component. And yes, so if I want to write my own, it would be, where is it? H1 time. And we're going to copy these styles because we can just copy and paste out of it. Copy. No. Edit text. We'll copy that. So there is our blink. Condemned blink effect. And then in timezone display, ditch the web component. And we'll just create that as a span separator dot class list dot add blink And then where come in browser? Look at that. Then I just got to do some padding and stuff like that around, which is easy enough to fix. But that's how you write a blink component. My thing is broken. What's the thing, Amy? You need to be a little bit more descriptive than that. Yeah, I don't have a README in the GitHub repo yet. That's a problem I will get to at some point in time. Fixing bugs and removing web components so we can style. You're trying to run my a clone of the Git repo. Let me push that. Make sure I've pushed all the changes. Define broken. Yeah, because there was there's a bug when you were trying to add a time zone. I know we fixed those bugs. Like, weren't you paying attention? Like 10 minutes ago, nothing works. Nothing works. Like, just in general in life, or like it's. Yeah, so the app's broken until I just pushed those changes, and it's now slightly less broken. Okay. Yeah, this is still painfully annoying to work with, and so I'm going to spend today actually making it easier to work with these DOM element creations and stuff like that, because this is unpleasantly verbose. Amy's now sending messages of like an example of what's broken. So let's have a look at that. And I'm going to open Messenger off stream just to make sure there's nothing else incriminating in my message history. No. My recent messages are all about running. And yeah, so this is the error message that we had at the start. We know that one's broken. We fixed that. That was fine. Just do a pull on the Git repo, update main branch, and it should all be fine now. Okay. Now I'm going to make it easier to work with this, and to do that, I'm just going to make a little DSL for creating DOM elements. So I'm going to call this create element.js, and const create element is going to be a function, and it's going to take some stuff, and we're going to export create element. Now the stuff it's going to create is the tag type, and then properties, and then the last thing that it's going to take is going to be children. Can anyone guess where this is inspired from? Okay. So let's pop that to the side, and then we'll start with time zone display. So we'll kind of implement the DSL as we're writing the DSL, just so that it kind of makes sense. And let's start with kind of a small, tiny element. We'll do make date because it's a pretty small one. So we're going to do const date container is create element, and that will be h2, and then we'll have properties of that, which will be null, and then it's going to have some children, which will be a create, which will be create element. Actually, that it could be an array or it could not be an array. We will worry about that. That will be a time, and that is going to have a time attribute, which will be now.format, and then that is going to have children, which is now dot format to D. There we go. Okay, so that's going to error because it doesn't like that. And then we will just return date container. Okay, so we'll start with this and we'll go const element equals document dot create element tag type. And then we go for const property of properties. Actually, no. We want const property keys will be object dot keys of properties, and then we'll do for const key of keys. We'll do element dot set attribute key dot to lowercase, and then properties key. Then we're going to return element, and then if we'll do children array dot is array on children. So if we've got an array of children, or we'll just turn children into an array dot for each, no, const C. Let's just not make it too disgusting. And for const child of C, we will then do create element. Oh wait, no. Element dot append child. So I think that, will that work? Who wants to see if it's worked first time? Who's expecting this to work first time? There's a resounding no one, and that's not surprising because it didn't work. Gotta love that it failed first time. Failed on parameter node. Oh, interesting. So it has failed to append child on. Wait. Interesting. So that's I reckon it's because of that. So let's pop a breakpoint. Actually, no, we'll just tell it to pause on exceptions. Okay, yes, because child is now a string, it can't do append child on that. We need to actually create a node for that. So we're going to reload. Okay, so time element child. Oh, yeah, because it's always the tail end one. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so if type of child equals string, element dot append child document dot create text node, and then that will be child, else that. Okay, so if it's a string, we're actually going to then create a text node and insert that as the child rather than otherwise that's not. Let's turn off the breakpoint, we'll reload, and it's going to work this time. No, because properties is null. That's fine. We go if properties and then we probably should actually go if children, because then if something like it's an element without a child, like a self-closing tag, then we don't want it to error either. Okay, nope, don't want the breakpoint. Reload. Oh, our little DSL might have actually worked. The little DSL that could. Okay, so let's try. So that was a pretty simple one with make date. Let's try something a little bit more complex, which is going to be. Let's start backpedaling through some of this functionality. So we'll do const minutes equals create element. That will be a span, and that will have properties, which will be content editable of true. And then it's going to have no more properties, but it's going to have a child, which will be create element, which is time, and that will have date time, which is now dot format, and then now dot format Is that enough? I think so. No, I am. Excellent. There we go. So we have created that. Ooh, I could actually have it do the events as well, because then that would be a little bit more readable. So what is that? That's going to be, do it on focus. And that can then execute this. And then we'll do keys dot filter. Key dot starts with on. So where it doesn't start with on. And then we'll do the inverse. And we'll call that, instead of keys, we'll call that events, where key starts with on, and then for const event in of events element dot add event listener, and that will be event dot actually, yeah, we go dot to lowercase, and then properties, event. Yep, and actually that will need to be trim. No. Replace. No. Split on, and then we will take that. No, that's ugly. That is really ugly. What's going to be the best way to do that? Because I'm like, are there any events that are going to have on in their name? Because I could just do replace on, on, and then with no, or I could replace it with the start on, no, hat on slash. Is hat start or end in regex? Let's have a look. Regex 101. Can't remember if hat is the start or the end in a regex, but we will figure this out. Okay, so slash, oh no, hat on, and then we'll do dot star. Okay, on focus. Okay, so asserts the start of the line. No, I don't want to go through to dollars. Match between 0 and unlimited. Your expression took too long to finish. Timeout. Whoa. Okay, I've got to put this one up. This comment from Jack. It might be behind my head. Oh no, I'm gonna have to. No, it's behind my head. So hang on a sec. Let's just hide me. Which one is that? That's that one. Yeah, well, type more. That was one potential solution. Yeah, so the way to remember it: top hat at the beginning for the sales deal, money at the end. Nice. So I don't want the debugger. I want to go back here. Leave. So it was hat on dot star, and then that's the regex, yeah, on focus. Yeah, okay, cool. So like, and then do on foo on. Yeah, cool. I'm not doing like capture groups or anything like that. And then blar doesn't match. Actually, I probably can cache that regex. Const event regex, and then we'll do event regex, and then instead of doing the starts on, we can do event regex dot test key. Or we could do like really funky and we just do this, like minimize all the code. Yeah, we'll leave regex test. And then that's not going to work. Called on incompatible receiver undefined. Because of the second argument, maybe. No. Okay. There we go. All right, so it's building our element still. No, it's not. Why didn't it build our element? Where is minute? Minute. Now I don't need to do that event there. Is it because I'm not appending the minute anywhere? That is correct. I deleted one too many lines. Oh, that's difficult to read. So we've deleted one too many lines. Did we? Time, yeah, time dot. Oh, and then time set attributes. Oh, because yeah, I'm doing that at the very end. Okay, yeah, sorry, I forgot to append child. Yeah, that's fine. We'll get there because we're going to actually really make things ugly. Const time container is going to be create element, and that is a h1, and then it is going to have no properties. I don't think. No, it is then going to have a child which is create element, and that is the time element, and then that has a date time property which is date, which is now.format, and then it is going to have a this is going to have an array of children, and that will be create element span, which will be the first one. That will have content editable of true. Then it will have a child of now.format HH. Then the next one will be a create element on span. That will not have anything other than class. Or can I use? Yeah, I can't. That's why React does it, because you can't use that there. Class name will be blink, and then it will have colon, and then finally we create element. Actually, that's where minute comes in. Which is that one, minute. I'm going to grab that on focus, chuck it up on here. That time element should be there. Actually, yeah, that should be on that. Then that time element should be gone. We should get rid of that. We need a comma there. Awesome. And then I can get rid of all of that code, because then I need to grab these two lines, put them up here, and we'll put the on input will be changed minutes equals true. You want parentheses around that. I chucked ESLint in here, so now I'm actually seeing like a whole heap of things. Change hours. Okay, and then we're going to have a blur event. Blur is going to global dispatch that event. And then we will grab the on blur, copy, paste it to there, save. Awesome. We can get rid of this chunk. Oh, fun. We're now, how do we do that update? That's going to be interesting. So just going to turn off breakpoint there so that we continue on. So now it's going to spam the console here because it doesn't know how to update those elements, because we're now dynamically, we don't actually create variables to represent them. So it's kind of like we need to, yeah, we're going to need to do that. And that can actually, that will be, ooh. This is going to be a tricky one. Because yeah, how do we then get the inner HTML here as well? Interesting. We kind of, on blur, we sort of want to go back and find the two events. Well, I suppose realistically on this one, we only need to pass through this one. We could always pass through -1, because in the change of the minute element, we know that when that one itself is changed, we're never actually changing. We can't have changed the hours element, so we can do that. We can do E, and then that will be e.target.inner HTML, and then we just flip it up here. That chain is this that will be changed hour. Yep, and then we put E there. But it still doesn't help us solve how we actually update these elements here. We can't, because kind of what we want to do is we want it to tell it to rerun make time, which actually, could we get it to do? Ooh. I wonder if we could get it to re-execute this function. No, because we're attempting to mutate the fields, and unless if we don't want to do that. Oops. Nope, back here. No, nothing interesting new in chat. I mean, I can inline the creation of these variables, inline like these calls to create element, so that we get these couple of properties back. So a couple of fields back. So we can then update them, but it's not going to really help a whole lot because it just doesn't make it any nicer. Yeah. Anyone got a bright idea beyond just assigning them to local variables? Actually, this is probably the simplest way to do it, but it's going to require me to dust off some CSS skills console, and that's going to go well. So we are going to be on, let's grab one of these elements. So this is going to be on the H1. So we're on the H1. We do $0, actually, const H1 equals $0. So it's that element. Okay, so we got that. We go H1 dot query selector. And then I want the span that is the nth first child. Okay, so that's that one. And then I want the nth child 2. No, is the nth child 3? Yeah, it's the child at position 3. Okay, so we can use nth child and selectors and stuff like that so that we can then find those elements. So, because we've got this time container, so we can use the time container, and we can go const hours equals time container dot query selector span at first child. Oh, actually no, we'll just do it nth child 1, and then minute, yep, and then time will just be query selector on the time. Well, I mean, kind of. Everything's at 57. Ah, yes, that's why. 3. There we go. But the question is it dynamically updating? It does not appear to be. And we're not... Oh, no, hang on a sec. We just haven't had a minute pass. Yes! It is attempting to update those fields. There we go. Okay. So that's worked. That's one way we can go about it. I mean, I'm not crazy on it, because we start with sort of this like declarative way of creating the elements, and then we're going in and going, oh, and now we're just going to query the DOM and find out where they are. It feels kind of unpleasant, but I think we'll have to deal with that for the time being. We're going to then, okay, so let's now do display time zone. Const time zone container, which will be create element section. It's going to have a class name of time zone container. Ooh, I just realized we're actually not putting out the class name. If key equals class name, element dot class list dot actually class name. It should be that. It's that, isn't it? Time zone container dot. Whoops. What is it? What is it? $0 dot class. Where's my $0? Select me an element. $0. Yeah. $0 dot class name. Yeah. I can just set the class name property. So we'll do class name equals properties key. Oh wait, no, that won't work. Yeah. Else, I was like, I wonder if set attribute would actually take care of it because of the way the class stuff is set up, but no, it wouldn't. I don't think. Okay, so let's go back to, let's keep finishing off this time zone container. So we've done those two lines, and then it's going to have a child. Create element section, and this is going to have a class name of time zone wrapper, and then it is going to have children. So time zone wrapper, we will append that. Cool. Okay, so we can get rid of time zone wrapper. I probably also need to move now up to there. We'll get an error that we've used it before declaration. So time zone wrapper, we need to append make date to. Okay, so has that made things go boom? It does. Time zone wrapper is not defined. Okay, cool, that's fine because that's happening down there. Now, oops. Oh, actually, yeah, that's a good idea. Rather than defining it as an array, now where was I defining arrays before? There we go. Just going to do create element. Get rid of the array, and we are going to pop that back to the side. Children, which will be ... and then we're not going to need to do the is array if children. That's better. Cool. One less level of indent. Now we got to deal with the error messages that we've got down here. That's fine. Okay, so then we are going to do zone group dot map zone info And let's just lift up this, chuck it in there completely, verbatim. And realize that we have something somewhere. We need to close a squiggly there, I think. No, okay. Then we get rid of that, I think. No. What am I? What symbol am I missing from where? Okay, so let's just backtrack this. So closes that squiggly, closes that curly, closes that, which then will close the parentheses on that, which then, whoops, closes on there. Okay, cool, there we go. So now we can get rid of the for loop. No, because I need to put this also inside of that for loop. Wait, in a sec. Yeah, that goes there. Yep. Okay, so that for loop is gone. It's still upset because the time zone wrapper doesn't exist. So we need, but we're going to be creating this time zone info container, which will, if we were to return that, that should work. Oh, you're going outside for lunch, Jack. How fancy. Catch you later, Jack. I will see you on Teams or something like that. Okay, so now we have tried to append child on something that is invalid. I wonder what it's going to be. It is going to be an array because, yeah, I bet that if we pause that, reload, the error message is that we have an array. Child is an array of, yeah. That's fine. How many times have we received that? Only once. Because, so we're going to need to do ... on that. So we'll spread the array. No. Time zone wrapper. Oh, your time zone wrapper is not defined, which is down there. Yep. And then the very last thing is that we're going to need to create that element. We'll do create. Wait. Hang on a sec. That's closing that one. Then we will create element on div with no properties and format time zone offset is going to be the child. That. And we should be back to working. Look at that. Refactoring is actually going well. And I'm going to assume all those times are correct. I think they are. We'll just presume that they are. Ooh, yeah, like I really want some more spacing around those. And I want the font size to decrease. Yeah, okay, so that's worked. So we've refactored that. Let's commit. Ooh. Git status, git. Okay, and starting a DSL to make creating elements more fluid. Oh, hang on. I should have checked zone list. Was there anything I needed to do in that one? No, that doesn't actually create. That just forces a refresh. Okay. So it works. But I don't know if I like the way that it works. Like, it's still very DOM and non-DOM in the same place. it's this thing in particular that I don't like. I wish that I didn't have to do it that way. I want React hooks. that's and I don't want this to be, yeah, like I really want this to be more like React. But that was the whole point. Like we're not using frameworks, so instead we're going to build our own framework. Damn it, or library. React's not a framework; it's a library. But I think that's where, yeah. Why don't we have a crack at actually try to build like a primitive, half-baked version of React? See what we can learn along the way. And I'm changing my color theme. Kind of bored of that one. Go back to Raj bordered. This is my normal preferred color theme you would have seen on previous streams, but I was trying to jazz it up for the talk I was giving last night. Okay, so if we think about how React works, there's two phases to it. First is creating the structure that represents the things that you're going to put into the DOM, and then there's actually putting them in the DOM. We'll close off create element at the minute. We think through like how does this whole like display time zone thing work? Well, we have a couple of components essentially, like make time, make date. We then have this mega one called display time zone, which is the one that like you really does the heavy lifting, and it's responsible for. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull this out into a separate function. I'm gonna pull this out into a name. I have a declared function extract to constant. To constant in module scope, and we're going to call that not new local, create zone in make zone info. Okay, so just because then it's a little bit more readable in our structure there. So we do make time, make date, make the array of zone info, and then we dump that just div showing the offset information at the very bottom. Let's just amend that one because it's really part of that same previous commit. Oh wait, git amend. Did that actually? No, I think I killed that incorrectly. And yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so I haven't done this function. I should go. Let's last bit of things that needs to be updated is this make zone info, const zone info container is going to be a create element div that will have a class name. Why does that work? Time zone info. I'm just looking at something and I'm just wondering why it works the way that it works. So the time zone container, we set the inner HTML to the zone info's name, and then we append a child. Yeah, because it will be just appending. So it'll have a text node, and then it'll append something after the text node. So that's why it works. So that's actually like the fact that it works is just a complete accident. Zone info name, and then we're going to punch across a couple of lines just because it's easier to read, and then we're going to do yep, that's those two. Then we create element, that'll be a span. We will have a class name of remove. It will have an on click, which will do a bunch of stuff. And that's going to be an async. Yep. And then so this will have some inner HTML, which will be the red X to indicate closing. No, wait, that is on the wrong line. That goes there. So that's the zone info container. That is the remove. Cool. So there we go. Okay, so let's set that up a little bit better. Okay, cool. Now we'll just make sure that is still, yep, that's still working. First remove Saigon. Yeah, look at that. Does actually remove things correctly. And we'll git amend because I want that part of that commit. And document.create element doesn't exist anymore. Yay! So we've successfully stripped this down to not directly doing anything with the DOM. This create element function is still obviously doing stuff with the DOM, but we want to, like, that's the next thing for us to try and chip away at. And for that, I'm actually going to we'll create a new create element function. No. Okay, so we're going to need two functions because if we think about the way React works, it builds up the virtual DOM structure and then it will render that virtual DOM structure to a target element. Like that's the processing behind it. So at the moment we've got this create element function, which is essentially doing both of those things. Like well, we're kind of building from kind of a loose description of what like an object to render to the DOM would look like, and then it creates all the appropriate elements, like by doing the create text node or create element and stuff like that. Instead, what we want to change is I'm going to rename this function to render. Let's just render is going to be that, because this is the one that's actually responsible for rendering the element out. And then that one will go away, and then we'll create a new function, const create element, and then that will take the tag type, the properties, and the children. And this is actually going to create a more, this is going to create an object representation of what's going to become our DOM element. So if we think about it, so this is probably going to be recursively called. So we'll start with that. So let's see, how do we think of this as a structure? So it's pretty easy. We do const. We'll call it descriptor. It's a descriptor of the element. So we call it type, which will be tag type. Properties, which will be properties, and children as children, and then we return the descriptor. Now, does that make enough sense? I don't think so. That seems too simplistic. Create element, because right now we have no way. Actually, no. What we want to do, like the children, are not necessarily what we want, are they? So the problem that I'm trying to work out is that this will essentially work in terms of building up an object graph, but it doesn't deal with string children particularly efficiently, because a child that is just a string, well, that kind of is special, like represented in a special way to our DOM structure, and yeah, that's going to error out. So we're going to change, just so this keeps working, we'll do custom element, no, call where we have all of that, no, render, and then everywhere that we had custom element, control D, sorry, create element, render, and that's not what I wanted. Control Y, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, render. So this is actually going to like render out, which is right. Maybe let's try this just in a scratch pad instead. Line 43. Did I miss one? Control G, 43. I did, because they were hidden. D. Render. See if we can keep this still compiling, or still running. Okay, yep, so that's still running. Now, if we think about what we would get if we did this create element stuff. So, where is my custom events function? No, not custom events, create element. So if we pop that there, what do we get if we take something that is not overly complex? So let's not use make time. Let's go, yeah, let's grab this one. Oh, I can't grab it because it's, so we do create element. I couldn't grab that because it doesn't sort of, because of all the renders embedded within it. So instead we're just going to do null, and then that will have a child which is create element time colon, I'll just pretend it's a string, doesn't really matter what it is, and then it's going to have child as a string. So we get the type of the top level one, we get the type of the child one because they've all gone through there. I wonder if we just go, like, if there's no properties and no children, then oh, actually is, actually let's do it, let's change that. So child and create element span, comma, null, comma, span. So now it's going to have an array of children, isn't it? The, oh wait, did I put that at the wrong level? So time, child, no. Why doesn't time have an array of children? Where did the span go? Ah, I know where the span went. I forgot to spread operator. So let's grab that back again. So we'll do that. And there we go. Now it's got an array of 2. There we go. So now, okay, so if child is not an object, and then children is going to be children dot map child, type of child equals object. So if it's an object, we just return child. Otherwise, we're going to return with, we could do type, call it, make it a text type with children being child. Okay, so essentially we want everything as an object graph. And let's grab this and then repaste it into the console. And then rerun that. And now if we have a look at the children of here, we should have 2 objects, one which is text and one. Yeah, that's nice. And actually, no, I'm going to just go, that can be tag. No, that can be element. And then we'll do tag type that. And I'm just going to rename that to tag. Okay, so we'll have element and text are 2 things that we could be outputting. And then our create element is creating an object descriptor that's going to represent those. So let's just have a look again. What do we get? We get top level is an element. It's got a h2 tag, and then children is an element. It's got it's a tag of time, and then it has children. One of them is a text and one of them is an element, and then that is depending on what it's going to be. Awesome. Then we can change the render function so that it will take this object descriptor and then build the object graph based off of what's been provided to it. And properties, so yeah, properties is null, cool. And then, yes, because then we can do some like short circuiting up here, such as detecting the type and so on and so forth. So that means back in timezone display, I'm going to undo those changes. Git co on timezone display. Because we're actually going to use create element here. And it's going to get funky because we're actually going to break this thing again. I don't think I use append child. I do. Okay, cool. So timezone display at the moment, timezone display returns me the timezone container, which is going to be an object. No longer is it going to be the element itself. So now this is going to take the, we'll call it a object, we'll call it the descriptor and the render target. Then we'll grab, let's go const type equals descriptor, this description, descriptor. Okay, so the type, and then we will do if type equals text, then we will, we'll do let element and then be element equals document dot create text node on descriptor dot children. Oh. Yeah. else. Element is going to be document.create element. And that will be descriptor dot tag type. And then we're actually going to then lift up a whole bunch of this stuff. Inside of here, we're not going to return element. We are going to do render target dot append child element. Okay, now we need to start unpacking all of these things. So we're going to do a const of properties and children equals descriptor. So we will set all of those up, and then children. Now we're not going to be able to do this, so instead we will do for child of child, we will do render child to element. Yeah. And I don't think I need to do that if check because it should never be null because we're always doing a spread operator on it. And then that will come outside of the block there. Awesome. Time zone display. We need to return that, and then we will do for each element, we will co-render element to main. Oh, let's have a look at where is it going. That's not bad. That's actually succeeded a lot further than I was expecting it to succeed. I'm just going to comment out this bit here because we will need to work out how we're going to deal with time update. Like it's worked better than I was expecting, but not as well as I would like. I think that is a problem, that everything is undefined. Leave that there because I need it still. Now, so this is going to be a problem inside of here. So, it's because it's tagged, not tagged. There we go. Now let's have a look at that. Okay, cool. Again, still not quite right. And I think that the reason is going to be inside of create element, this line here. So is the children, for a text descriptor, the children isn't an array. Well, okay, that's easy to fix. F8, run through there. Of course, because you don't actually call create element on that. Wow, we've just created the basics of React. Like, that's actually worked pretty well. And this is annoying me. Disable editor. There we go. So I've got so this is an extension I've got, Microsoft Editor. It basically runs the Microsoft text editing. Sorry, like, it's kind of like Grammarly, but it uses the word engine instead. And I don't think it's quite as brutal a keylogger as Grammarly is. I have concerns about Grammarly because like every single key press goes back across every field. I need to do some more digging into this to work out how it works. But you can actually disable it on specific domains. So I've just disabled it for this one because otherwise it injects a bunch of stuff in the DOM and we get the blue and red squigglies, and that's really quite annoying. But wow, I'm happy with how that's actually worked out on the first pass. So we've created something that works not too shabbily, except for the fact that it's no longer capable of updating the DOM here. But then again, I actually wonder if this is being done in the wrong location. E.now. So if I think about it, like if we come back up here to this display time zone function. So display time zone, we take moment, and the reason that we take moment is predominantly to get now. We then pass it through to make time, but the only reason we pass it to make time is so that we can update. I think I can actually lift this event out, this event handler out. We can put it up to here. We will not uncomment it because I want to kind of keep it there as so I can understand the intent again. But I think what we can do in here is we can actually run this event and then use it to call display time zone update, and instead of passing through no, I will need to subscribe it inside of that for loop. Won't we? Because yeah, because we need the zone group, which we only have. So I need to then iterate over each of them, which means that you need to clean out. So we need to remove all the elements from there. No, so we don't want to refresh the whole zone list. We just want to. Yeah, there was a performance optimization thing there, wasn't it? Because you don't want to be real building the entire DOM every single time. You just want to be updating the specific DOM elements. Because we're just poking at the inner HTML and the attributes of those elements. We're not destroying and recreating, which means we don't have to worry about unsubscribing events and a bunch of stuff in that space. I think I'm going to need to think more creatively around how we can do that. One option is just to do it like inside of this render method, like inside of this for each method. We do something like really super hacky. And get it. Or we start making it more. So at the moment, from a React standpoint, we're not fully there. Like it's doing some of the things that React does in terms of like building out this virtual DOM structure, which will then eventually render. But it's not tracking the things, and that's kind of what we want to do, so that when you call create element again, it goes, oh, hang on a sec, let's look at this existing DOM structure and then let's update the things that have changed in it only, rather than let's create the entire thing from scratch. And then that's where we need to start building out a diffing engine. So I wondered, are we needing to, where are we needing to start from for building what's essentially going to become a diff engine? Well, I kind of feel like this here, like at the moment, it's just rendering like in line and it's doing multiple render calls, we kind of want to reduce the number of render calls as well. Like we want to push all of this up and up and up until we're only rendering that once. Like we don't want to do this inside of that loop. We want to just return out all of these. So then what do we call I'm going to commit just so I've got a place that I can come back to as I start thinking about how to break things. Add, and then we'll commit starting a virtual DOM like structure for element creation. That'll do. Oh, yeah, it doesn't like that that's undefined because we're no longer using the event. Git add, git commit. There we go. Excuse me. Okay. So what's time zone list? What does this refresh time zone list need to know about? Because if we think about this as a component, like at the moment, what do we need to pass to it? Or even what are we not passing to it that we might want to pass to it that would be useful? We'd want to pass it the array of items that go like to display. At the moment, we're just getting that in line here. We're doing that as an async call. We want the current time to render out. So as you refresh the zone list, here's the new time that you're rendering, or like the date and time that you're rendering. So we want to be able to update that. And I think that's really all. The way it's working at the moment is we're passing in moment in completely so that we can then unpack the moment in time like as we receive it. When if we were to change this to always receive the moment that you want to render. Yeah, let's sacrifice a bit of performance for a bit. And we're going to come back, I think it's in index. Index is refresh zone list to DOM, which is that one there. Yep. So I'm going to punch that to the side. We're going to delete that function because we're not going to render it to the DOM. Instead, refresh zone list. So we're always going to recall refresh zone list here. And we're always going to pass, well, we're actually, let's pass in the items. So we're going to get all the zones and we'll do zones and then we'll do moment dot now window dot moment dot now. That was because that's the first thing that happens in display. It does moment dot UTC. So we get back to the UTC there. So we'll pass those in. So what that means is that the responsibility for clearing out the previous children is going to come outside of this function. So we're going to call that zones and now. So we'll get rid of that. So we know that's there. And comment that out because we're going to not have that there. We're not going to do that for loop. Instead, we're going to return, and then here we're going to pass through now. Time zone display is going to be still call that moment. Actually, we're going to call that UTC now, and then we're going to convert that into the time zone, and then make time. Doesn't actually need that passed in, but we'll leave it passed in there for the time for this current little bit of time. So now we no longer need render up here. Okay. We are going to need to import render though. Const render is an await import from create element.js. Okay, so that's there. So this is then an async function, but it doesn't need to be an async function anymore. And const zone list is going to be that. And then we would render zone list to document element by ID main. I think that's where it's got to go. Check the diff to see what, because we deleted that already and I should have looked at what it was going to be. Yeah, it is element by ID main. Okay, so that's when we display the picker, and then we've added an item to it, and then we have an error for the down, which will be the same thing. Whoops, forgot to get the zones. Okay, so, and then timezone refresh. And that will be an async function. That, and then okay, so that's how we keep re-rendering it, right? Okay, so that's gonna, yeah, that's gonna re-render it each time, like from all the various locations we need to re-render from, at least theoretically. Okay, children is not iterable in render. Why not? Because it's returned an array, hasn't it? Okay, so let's have a look up here. Yeah, zone list is an array, so the descriptor, it's an array of descriptors. That's a problem. This is where you kind of want to, yeah, I have to put like a container element around it. Oh, here we go. This is a fun idea. So we've got a problem when it comes to render. If we pass it an array, it doesn't understand. It only understands like a single object entry point, which is like, that's actually the way React has worked for a long period of time. Is it only understands a single element entry point. You couldn't return arrays to things, and I don't think you can even do that at the root of an application, and it's kind of where we're at. Well, like at the root of the application, that's where this refresh timezone function is used, is at the application root. So what we need to do though is we need to say, well, you've got an array, but I actually want to turn it into a non-array. And for that, I'm actually going to need to wrap this inside of a new element. So I'm actually going to return create element, and that will be an empty string tag, and that will have nothing, and then it will have a spread of that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change create element, and then we're going to do the descriptor, and then and we're going to do tag equals empty string. Ooh, 4 equals. So if it equals empty string, we're going to call it a noop. Otherwise, it's an element. Now, if type is text, else if type is a noop, we are then just going to we're going to need to turn that into a single element. This is tricky, because we kind of need to just like for each, like for of descriptors. But we need to then, so essentially I need to run like this render. Of course, that's the way that you do it. Render. Wait, no, we do for const child of children. Oops. Descriptor, not children. Scriptor. We do render child and then render target. Yeah, that should be it. Let's turn off break on that. Continue on. Reload. Look at that. I mean, we've got another pen child node parameter. Okay, here we go. Render target element. Yeah, okay, that's fine. We should actually push that inside of here, and then we're going to push that inside of here. Oops, no, not inside of there. Inside of there. Yeah. And I wonder if, damn, there isn't a way to like turn an if into a case from a shortcut key. I was hoping there was, but it seems that there isn't. Disappointing. Okay, well, I just realized what the time is. We're coming up towards the end of the stream. But I think that we've started making some progress in building something that will evolve into a way that is going to be a little bit easier to deal with the way that things are getting updated and getting pushed down into our children items. Yeah, like I do appreciate that it is a little bit kind of ugly, like the way this create element stuff works. Like the verboseness of this, you're like, oh, is that any better than what we previously had? To a degree, probably not. I quite like, though, that it's very clear where everything exists. The original code we actually, and I suppose if I look at like timezone picker, and let's punch that one across to there and put that side by side with the timezone display, it gets very ugly kind of where things are intertwined with each other. So like we're building elements and then we're attaching events to them, and it gets quite confusing, and I was finding myself getting quite lost inside of that. So surfacing a lot of this up to an API where you have to have a defined structure, I'm finding that easier to read. So I can look at this as like, okay, so there's the element tag, like there's the creation of that element, and then here's the creation of a next element. The fact that I lifted some of these out to functions does, I think, actually decrease the readability a little bit, because like make time is going up there, but there might be other ways that we could address some of this stuff. I know, for example, like make time, I don't actually need to pass in a few of these things because it's not actually used. We don't need the first two arguments of this function. We just need now, so that we can render out what's the current now. Those two other arguments were used for the event handler, which if we keep pushing along this way, hopefully we can get to the point where this render function, like even that is we're having to call that at a couple of different locations, but if we could bring that up again so that it was a little bit more single entry point so that you push things down. Yeah, okay. So like here's a good example of the stuff that I find is really like verbose to try and read. And you've just got all these variable names, and it's like which variable, like where's that one declared, and what's it referencing, and we're using kind of is that reverse Polish notation where you put the type as the suffix, and so I think next week we're going to keep chipping away at doing a bit more of this style of thing and pushing it more into a mutation-free zone. So like right now, the only way to update the DOM is to either drop everything out of the DOM and then recreate it, which I might just plug that in between streams so that we can actually see that in action, that it is able to properly refresh and it drops everything. Actually, no, we can probably do that now because it's pretty simple to put this. So I'm going to grab this. We'll focus on the update. So this is where the time zone refresh. Yeah, time updated event. Time updated event, which is subscribed somewhere. Oh no, that's the one that was subscribed there. Yeah. No, I'll work out where this code needs to go. I might just do some tweaks between now and next week to get it back to working so that the times are updating and things like that. But yeah, then we'll keep having a look at how you build kind of a React-like library for managing state, managing a UI, and hopefully we can get to the point where it sort of all works nice and smoothly. And we've got kind of single entry point refresh and stuff like that. But yeah, we're in a good place. I think. Let's just. I'm not going to push these changes because it's broken. Commit, add, and commit. Handling render of an array of descriptors. Cool. I won't push these changes just up at the moment because, like I said, the app doesn't work. There's no point pushing something that is just fundamentally broken. But next week we'll keep chipping away and see if we can't get some essentially a way that we can flow props down from a parent component, being this index.js file, to our subcomponents. So, till next week, stay safe. For those of you stuck in Melbourne lockdown, apologies that it's extending a little bit longer and that I can get to flaunt the fact that I am able to go outside. But we'll see you next week on the stream. So same time, midday Friday, I'll be back. But till then, take care. See you next time.